gave them the right link. So hopefully they'll be able to join us. In the event that they're not, this meeting will be recorded starting now, and it'll be posted in the channel so that they can refer back to it. So this meeting tonight, thank you all for joining us. The purpose of this meeting is so that you guys have all of the proper procedures and protocols and requirements that are necessary for when you return back to campus on October 19th. And so we wanted to just make sure that we kind of give an orientation because things are different and there's a lot of do's and don'ts as it relates to returning to campus. So we want to make sure every single requirement we have on here, every single guideline and change that we've made is all in the interest of protecting our students and our staff and minimizing risks. So you will see that we've removed a lot of the privileges that we've come to know as Eastwood, but it is in the interest, the sole interest of reducing our risk. So as we go through, you know, the rest of this pandemic and how it pans out, if things subside and we no longer have risk factors that we're facing, then we can go back to our Eastwood traditions as it relates to lunch and how we operate in the hallways and whatnot. But until then, again, we're doing all of this for the safety of you all and for the safety of our staff members. So without further ado, I am going to leave it to Ms. Morales, who will conduct the presentation. She will have periods throughout the presentation. So if you have questions, she will provide structured time within the presentation to take those questions. If you have a question that you want responded to, you can also type it in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as we move along. Thank you all.
Hi, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dixie Morales, and I am one of the administrators here at Eastwood. I am in charge of letters A through L. So I'm also the school safety captain. So this is why I am doing the reopening plan, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So in preparation for our return back to Eastwood, we want to go ahead and make sure that everybody is practicing preventive behaviors. We want to make sure that we are keeping a healthy environment for our students. And we want to reinforce appropriate hygiene and social distancing practices. So I have to go over this. I know that you guys have known about COVID since March, since it started, but what is COVID? So COVID is an illness that you become infected with the coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. And some of the things that could actually spread COVID are from person to person, between people who are in close contact. So when students are congregated, that can become a problem. And close contact within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. So we need to make sure that our students are taking the preventative measures. Some of the symptoms that those people have that do have coronavirus, they display cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, they have fever or chills, muscle or body aches, they're either vomiting or have diarrhea, and they have a loss of taste or smell. So this is where we start talking about our preventative measures here at Eastwood, and this is very important. We are asking that all of our students who are coming in person wear face masks. This is required. This is a non-negotiable that we have from the district, so everybody that is on campus must have a face mask on. Some of the do's and the don'ts of face masks. So we have to make sure that our face masks have 2 or more layers, that they're washable and they're breathable fabrics, that they completely cover our face, especially our nose and our mouth, and that they're snug and don't have spaces right by your cheeks. Some of the masks that we are recommending students not to wear are masks that have vinyl, where students have a hard time breathing. They have the exhalation valves where particles could go in, and the ones that are intended for healthcare workers, which are called the N95s, which are surgical masks. Those are the ones that we do not want students to use. We want them to use the one where you see the do's of choose these masks. So how to take off your mask is very important for you guys to start discussing the appropriate measures of taking off masks and putting them back on. Some of the things are, make sure that you wash your hands before taking off your mask, and then wash your hands when you put your mask back on. So make sure that you put it all the way in, fold the corners together, and then make sure you're careful not to touch your eyes and your nose and mouth when you are removing the mask. So, any questions so far? Okay. So let's talk about washing our hands. So it's very important that we tell our students that you're supposed to wash your hand before eating or preparing food and before touching our faces. Make sure that they wash their hands after using the restroom, if they cough or sneeze, if they leave a public place, when they're handling their face covers, when they're changing, of course they're not changing a diaper, but when parents are changing a diaper, make sure that you do wash your hands, and when you're taking care of someone who is sick at home, or you're touching your animals or your pets. Okay, social distancing. This is going to be, returning back to Eastwood. We're eager to see our students, but we want to make sure that we adhere to our social distancing guidelines. So how are we practicing social distancing? We want to make sure that our students are always 6 feet apart. So we cannot be in a place for more than 15 minutes if we're going to be in close contact, less than 6 feet apart. So an example of that is walking through the hallway. We want to make sure that we have laid out blue squares where students are going to see how to make sure that they adhere to the guidelines. They always are going to be wearing their mask. We're going to take away the microwaves from the cafeteria. So no more microwaves in the cafeteria. And if students are having food delivered, they must grab the food directly from the person who is delivering it. Staff will not be able to touch any food or food orders. And for our off-campus students, we will not have off-campus lunch. Again, for our off-campus students, we will not have off-campus lunch. So this is how are we going to practice social distancing? Again, we're asking all students to walk on the right side of the hallway. We're going to have 2 staircases. One is going to be designated to go up, and one is going to be designated to go down. So the staircase beside room 101 will be the staircase that is going to be used to go up to the 2nd floor. And the one beside room 208 is going to be the staircase designated to go down to the 1st floor. Do we have any questions? So let's talk about cleaning. So it is very, very important that we keep our rooms clean. Something that we are doing here is each teacher will get a cleaning kit. Cleaning kits will be used to clean all desk areas. To make sure that we are using our time adequately, we must ask students to clean their area. So if I am using my desk area, my teacher will be giving me something so I could clean my area and throw it in the trash. So everybody, we're encouraging our students to clean their own area with the supplies that we are providing. So we are not asking for you guys to bring supplies. We are providing the cleaning supplies. So daily self-screening. So this is where our kids will be self-screening. So every day our kids will be dropped off in the parking lot area. They will line up in the entryway, following guidelines to facilitate the on-site screening. Everybody's going to be asked to line up outside. Students will follow the 6 feet guideline again by the entryway. Before students can enter the building, they will be able to fill out an on-site screening form. We have provided the QR code that you see on the screen. Students will take a picture of this QR code. It will automatically take them to the form. They will fill out the form. However, before the students hit submit, there's going to be a member of the wellness team that's going to be there to take their temperature. They will submit the temperature and they will submit the form. This will happen every day. Any questions about that? The form will not be open until October 19th, the first day of school.
What if we're late? Yeah.
Even if you're late, you still have to fill out the form.
Emily.
That was Miss Lyra. So make sure you take a picture of the QR code, keep it in your cell phone so you have it just in case. We will have pictures here at the school too, displayed everywhere so you guys can take pictures, but it is very important to save it.
What time will the doors open this year?
The doors will open at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30, 7:30, 7:30.
The reason for 7:30 is because that's when our wellness team arrives and we can start.
So the reason, Ms. Lear is just telling me that the reason we are opening at 7:30 is because that is when our wellness team members start arriving. So that's when we could actually confirm everybody's temperature. And that's when they're cleared to come into the building after we record someone's temperature. So let's talk about if you become ill at school. So what happens if you are feeling sick at school? So please make sure you tell your teacher and the school nurse immediately. Please don't walk around and be in contact with other students and staff, and the nurse will take you to a designated isolation room for staff and students who become ill and are exhibiting signs of the symptoms of COVID. Now, this room is called the SHIP. So if someone tells you I'm taking you to the SHIP, it's because they're taking you to the Student Health Isolation Pod, the SHIP. Okay, what about if you become sick at home? So if you are sick, you can go ahead and stay at home. Make sure you get the medical health and attention if you need it. Make sure that you follow your medical provider's instruction if they give you some. You notify Nurse Soltani and Ms. Perot of your absence and indicate whether you all are well enough to attend online. If you're not, then you just tell Ms. Perot that you will not be attending online and that you will be absent for the day. If you are, then you still email Ms. Perot and let her know that you're attending school, but from home. She will take care of telling your teachers that you will be in attendance, but remotely. So please make sure that if you are sick at home, you separate yourself from others and your pets in your house. Do we have any questions?
What about students that take medicine during the day? Will the nurse still dispense medicine?
Yes, the nurse will still dispense medicine. If your child is taking medicine during the day, please make sure that you fill out the form. We will ask Nurse Soltani if we'll have you, can you please write that email down, omid.soltani@houstonisd.org, and ask for the form for medical, so that way he could release the medicine for him or her.
And I'll let Nurse Soltani know to be on the lookout for him.
Okay, so Ms. Lear is saying that she will let Nurse Soltani know to be on the lookout for a form that requires medicine dispensal. Okay, so quarantine versus isolation. So what are those two? So quarantine keeps someone who might have been exposed to the virus away from others. So if you feel like you were exposed by being with someone who tested positive of COVID, you need to stay home too. Isolation means someone who has been positively infected with coronavirus. So if you've been you are tested positive with COVID, you need to be isolated. That means that you need to stay away from contact with other people, even at your house. Okay, so quarantine again means that you are someone who you are exposed to the virus, but you need to stay away from others. And isolation means that you have tested positive for COVID. So when to come back from school, to school from quarantine or isolation, it is if you tested positive for COVID, it's a confirmed case. You can be with others after at least 14 days have passed and symptoms appeared and at least 24 hours have passed with no fever, without fever-reducing medication, and other symptoms of COVID. If you were in quarantine due to being in close contact with someone, then 14 days have passed after the last prior contact with the individual who tested positive, then you could come back to school. So if you have any of these cases, please make sure that you contact Nurse Oltani. And again, Ms. Varela will write the email in the chat for you to contact him. So this is the breakdown of a virtual versus in-person instruction. So we have 73% of our total student population staying at home for remote virtual learning. And we have 27% of them coming to school. So that translates as 121 people that are coming. And what is it? What was the other one? And over 300 who are staying home. In-person instruction by grade level. So in the 9th grade, we have 37 students coming. In the 10th grade, we have 32 students coming. In the 11th grade, 32. And in the 12th grade, we have 19 students coming. For virtual instruction, we have 70 9th graders staying home, 86 10th graders staying home. 11th, we have 69 of them staying home, and for 12th grade, we have 95 of them staying home. So this is how the classrooms will look like. If you could see Ms. Varela, who is wearing the black shirt and is standing right in front of Dr. Barranque. Dr. Barranque has a face covering plus a shield. You can't really see it, but this is how classrooms have been set up. There's only 10 desks per classroom. There's 2 plexiglasses. If you could see it here, you could see more plexiglass. You could see the one that's going to be right in front of the teacher and the one that's right in front of me. The student who is closest to the teacher gets a plexiglass. We have hand sanitizing stations in each classroom. We are encouraging all students to use it as they come in and walk out the door. This is the library. This is the library classroom, and we could only fit 8 in here. So if there is more than 8 students at a time, they have been asked to relocate to a different room where we could have them seated following the 6 feet guideline. Any questions?
No.
Miss Dixie, I have a question.
Yes.
So for when we get to school, where are we gonna be put at, or are there any areas where we can go before class starts?
Yes, so there are 2 areas. There's the cafeteria, the patio, and the gym. But remember, we have to adhere to the 6 feet guideline. Okay, so you can, yeah, there's all the seats are designated to where you can sit at, and there are red flags on the seats where you cannot sit at.
Okay, thank you.
No problem, love.
Student gets infected where you contact it.
All right. I want to address some of the questions in the chat here, and we're going to keep the slide there because it is translating for those that need the translation. So we have a question about if a student gets infected, will you contact the other students that were in contact? So I want to clarify what it means to be in contact, right? So the way the district and the CDC defines it is within 6 feet without a face mask for more than 15 minutes, right? So if you are walking through the hallway, for example, and we're going to have 121 students walking through our hallways at passing periods, which is not very much considering it's 1/4 of the population. So there will be times when you're walking in the hallway and you may be less than 6 feet apart from another student, but everyone is required to wear a properly fitting face mask, so you're not at risk because you're passing them by, right? You're not. Now, if you were within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes or more and that person is infected, then it puts you at risk, if that makes sense. So the protocols that are in place to protect people's identity are that when a person is infected, let's say we have a positive case, not presumptive positive, but a confirmed positive case, then yes, we would not identify a person to another person, but we will say you are one of the persons that came in contact with an infected person for longer than 15 minutes without a face mask, right? And we would let you know the proper steps to take from that point. Now, keep in mind that, keep in mind that whenever you are on campus, you are all expected to be wearing face masks at all times. So that's one step that we take to minimize the risk. The next step we take to minimize the risk is the 6 feet social distancing. It may not be possible 100% of the time, like I said before, when you're passing in the passing periods and whatnot. But as soon as you arrive on campus, someone on our wellness team is taking your temperature, you're submitting your screening survey, and then you are reporting to the designated areas, namely the cafeteria or the courtyard, to wait until the bell rings. Now, like I said before, our schedule has never changed. And it will not change. School at the secondary level starts at 8:30. That is never, it's not a change from last year. There is no change this year from the start of the school year. So it will always be 8:30 a.m. That bell rings at 8:25 to give you 5 minutes to get to class. So the closer you can get to an 8:20 arrival, the better, because that again minimizes the risk. We don't want all 118 of you guys or 121 of you guys hanging out, for long periods of time. Keep in mind, however, for lunch and for breakfast, we have enough seats, social distance at 6 feet, for all 121 of you to be in our cafeteria and gym. So that partition is going to be open permanently so that half of you guys fit on the cafeteria side and the other half of you all fit on the gymnasium side. So there will be no issue with being in the room and physically distanced at 6 feet. Okay. So please don't worry that, you're all going to be crammed in this one space or anything like that. And so I just want to clarify some of the things that we're getting answered here too. So I think I just answered about lunch. If we were at more students reporting face-to-face, we would be able to, we wouldn't be able to fit everybody in the cafeteria and we would have to go to 2 lunches, but that's not the case for this round. This round, we can fit everybody in the lunch. So I know I see these 4 angry faces here for off-campus lunch, but guys, think about it. We can control what happens at Eastwood with social distancing and disinfecting and all of that stuff. We can't control it at Jack in the Box, at Munchies, at wherever it is that you guys go. That's point number 1, right? Point number 2 is you only have a 30-minute lunch this year. There is no time to go somewhere and be back without being late. And so you can be angry at me and file your complaints, but at the end of the day, it's my job to keep people safe. And so it's not about convenience this year, it's about safety. And that's the priority. Will the survey in which we choose whether we go to campus or stay at home continue to be available? Yes, that survey is ongoing. And there's a window where it opens as we get closer to the next 6 weeks. So before we start the third 6 weeks, you'll have another opportunity to either come face-to-face or to switch to virtual. Okay. So if things don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, or you just change your mind, situations change at home, people can opt in or out of whatever they chose this time around. And that will be true all year long, all the way until May. Only six weeks, then yes. So every 6 weeks, you'll have the survey open up again. Okay. So for DoorDash and Uber Eats, so we're not going to say that you can't do DoorDash or Uber Eats for food if you so choose, but I'm going on the record now. And if anybody complains, I'll just send you a link to this meeting to mark my words. We will not, under any circumstances, receive your food. So if your DoorDasher comes and you're not available for them, we will tell them you have an option. You can leave the food on the floor out the door, or you can, leave. But we will not put our staff at risk of taking food from an Uber driver or a DoorDash driver or whoever. And the same thing is true for parents. Parents are more than welcome to come and bring their lunch to the child, but we are gonna ask that you wait outside for your child lunch from you. We're not going to receive anything from you guys. And the same is true for visitors. We are not allowed to have visitors on campus unless they have a pre-scheduled meeting with us, and they will not be allowed to go into classrooms. So unfortunately, we cannot accommodate parents coming into the building to eat lunch with their kids at this time. We hope that these things will change, guys, but right now, again, it's all about making sure that we are maintaining safety. Okay, will the teacher for the subject be in the classroom? Yes. Nothing has changed with our master schedule, thankfully. We have gotten the approval for our teachers to teach face-to-face and virtual kids simultaneously. So there will be no issue with changing teachers. My brother wants to know if kids can play sports in the gym. So if you're talking about PE class, there will be some structured activities where we might be able to play some sports with face masks on and making sure we're washing hands and sanitizing equipment. But there will not be free play during the lunch period. No. If that's what the question was. And let's see, so that option is still available for those who have doubts. So the window for coming face-to-face and virtual has closed. The selection period has closed. If there is an extenuating circumstance where we need to make a change for a family, we need a parent to call us. But the window is not available for you all. So even if you were to log into your account, the form is no longer there. Our dress code is the same as last year, and it's in the student handbook. We've never had a uniform here. We just have a dress code where we ask that you're appropriate for the school setting. How will student governments be allowed to continue to run fundraisers? So that's a tricky one. We have to be very strategic. Obviously, we can't be selling food or anything like that, but we do have a senior meeting to address that this week. Let's see. Are we still going to be allowed on campus if we have a free period? So this is tricky too, Israel. Whenever we figured out our plan for reopening, it's based on the classes that are offered at the time. So unfortunately, students who are scheduled to off campus must go off campus because every single room in this building will be occupied to accommodate for the number of students that are on campus. So you will have to exit the building and wait for your ride. Now, if it's raining or something like that, we can try to figure out where we can so safely have you guys waiting for your rides, but we cannot allow those that are scheduled into off campus to remain on campus. You have to leave. So if changes need to be made, again, to repeat, a parent will need to call the school and speak to one of the administrators. So either Ms. Morales or Ms. Varela, okay? What about office workers, Kim? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing different with office workers. If you're scheduled into office worker, there's still guidelines, like you have to be 6 feet apart and all that great stuff. And we've made the accommodations for that as well. Okay. Any other questions before we end? Just keep in mind, guys, I know it's not ideal. I mean, if I wish normal and that we could just have our normal senior year for those of you that are seniors on the call. But we just can't do the same things that we've always done in a safe manner and still protect you all. So every decision that we've made so far has been with the guidance of our district, and of course adhering to all of our CDC guidelines from our health officials and government officials. Okay. All right, seniors on the call, please know that we have a town hall meeting on Thursday at 12:15, so we can talk about fundraisers and ideas that you all have for that. But if that is it, we are going to end the call now. The recording will be available in this team group. And let's see, will we be allowed to go to the weight room and others so long as we wear masks? No, sir, we are not allowed to open up our weight room at this time. It requires a lot of sanitation. I mean, you're talking about every single weight or equipment item that you pick up. Even in our art classes, we have to, we're in the process of creating personalized kits for every student because we can't share materials. So unfortunately, we're not allowed to be in the weight room currently. All right, you all have a good evening. If you have any questions that come up along the way, parents or students, email it to us, send a Teams chat, whatever you need to do. We're here to answer your questions and make sure that you feel comfortable as you come back to campus. And again, for those of you that needed to make changes to your selection, a parent must call and speak to an administrator. Okay, have a good evening. Go Astros. We'll see you guys soon. Bye. Let me stop the recording.
Bye, Miss Lyra. Thank you.